I think that Birdezilla and the entire like idea of a Birdezilla is a very misogynistic concept.
And you only want the people who are going to support you and love you and hype you up.
That's another like myth about bridal that we always talk about, of like people being like, well, you want it to be timeless. You have no control over that.
No. Right.
You have zero control.
Hi, and welcome back to Bourbon with the Bluegrass Babes. We are here today with Taylor and Maddie, and they are with Twirl, the wedding dress shop. Everyone knows about it. So tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
Yeah, so I manage over at Twirl. I have been the manager over there since, 6 years almost. So so I actually started over at a shop that was called Meant to Be that was co-owned by our owner Ty, and basically we were like, let's simplify our lives, so let's just bring it all to Twirl. So I've managed for her for almost 6 years and could not imagine doing anything else. Twirl has been in Lexington since 2009.
Yes.
So we're doing, 13? Math is hard. 14.
Well, this year?
Yeah, 14 years. So
Nice.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I am the stylist there. I am the manager there. I run our TikTok mostly. So for better or for worse. And Madeline is my assistant manager.
Yes. I've been at Twirl since very beginning of 2020, so barely pre-COVID. I was in college when I started working just like part-time, and then after college moved into like full-time role, do like assistant managing, stylist as well, do like all of our orders, communicating with designers, stuff like that.
Love it.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
could not do my job without her.
Without
She's
her, yeah.
literally so good.
You definitely need the yin and the yang. You gotta have the duo. So what would you all say is like your why? How did you all get into this realm? Did you all just really love dresses?
Yeah,
were
you
like,
go first. Yours is
God,
easier
I
than mine.
love that question. So whenever I was like 8 years old, I was like, I love wedding dresses.
Yes.
And I love weddings. And my mom had subscribed us to Brides Magazine. And I was like, every month I would get home from school. And I grew up in Louisville, and I went to one of the Catholic schools, so I'd have like my little uniform on and like come home and be in my little jumper, and I'd be like, is Brides Magazine here?
Is it here?
So I just always grew up loving it. And like my sisters, I have 2 older sisters, and they would have their friends over, and I'd be like, I'm gonna pick out their wedding dress for them. And they'd be like, why is your younger sister in the room with us while we're trying to hang out? And I'd be like, but like you're gonna get married in
little
the
sister.
So I did that for like so long, and I like literally, my mom just found my sketchbook of like wedding dresses.
So
And it's like
I
dated.
know.
I'm like, Taylor, 11 years old. It's like,
You need to post that on your all's TikTok. That would be the
That would
cutest
be
thing
really
ever.
cute. That's a great
It is.
idea.
That would be
Like,
the cutest
yeah.
thing ever.
Butterflies.
I-
You
Yeah.
should do like a little like collage of like what you designed, and if you all
Yeah.
have a dress that's like similar,
Oh my
you know what I
gosh.
mean? That would be so
I like
cute.
have
Yeah.
it framed on my wall.
Oh,
very
so
love that.
yes, that's a good idea. But so I grew up loving weddings, but I never like thought that I would like make a career out of it. And so then my 2 older sisters got their dresses at Twirl, and one of them she's 6 years older than me. So I was in pre-cal class whenever she went shopping, and I was getting live text updates of her trying on dresses, and I was like, that shop is so cute. Yeah. It was 2014. I was like, 16, 17. And then I went shopping with my next oldest sister at Twirl, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, people get to do this for their jobs.
for a living. Yeah.
But I like didn't think much of it, and that was in 2016. And then in 2017, I was at UK, and I was following Twirl from my sisters having shopped there, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait, they're hiring a Meant to Be for an intern? And I need a summer internship for my school credits?
Match made in
What
heaven.
am I thinking? So I applied, and from there, like, I still remember I was hanging out with my sisters whenever I got the call, and they were like, we would love for you to be our intern. And I was like, oh my God. I like sobbed.
Yes.
I was holding one of my nieces, and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, I'm pretty sure the baby's supposed to be crying, and I'm supposed to be not, but that's fine. And then from there, they were like, would you consider staying on as a stylist? And I was like, you want to pay me?
You don't even have to pay me.
You want to pay me now?
Do anything.
And so fast forward, then they were like, would you like to move into management? And now I'm like, you can't get rid of me.
Yeah. I will die here.
Exactly.
Bury
So
me of this house.
that is how I became a stylist. It's a long road, and I'm like, I still, to this day, can't believe that I get to do it and get paid for it.
I feel like she's the first one that's came on, and it's been like, I knew from childhood what I was going to do. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everybody was like, I did this, and then I decided I didn't like it, and X, Y, and Z, and you were like, nope, woke up, drew a dress, and knew I was going to be it.
But like, if you had asked me, I wouldn't have been like, oh, one day I'm going to go into weddings. Like, I was always just like, that's just like something fun that I do.
that you love.
Like, I just love it. But I never thought that I could get paid for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys want to pay me to have the best job in the world? Like, our brides will be like, your job must be so fun. And I kind of think that sometimes they're like just saying it because they're like, maybe like she's like deals with Birdezillas, and I look at them and I'm like, you have no idea.
Like, I love coming in.
I love this place.
Aww.
No, but we'll get to the Bridezillas.
Yes, trust me. Anyway, so what would you say? How did you get into it? What was your drive to?
So I loved weddings growing up. Obviously, like would watch 4 Weddings constantly.
the best show.
Say
I love
yes, the
it.
dress. Like if people came on there and their budget wasn't like 15,000, it was
You're like, what are you doing?
Peasant.
try again.
Thrifting.
Exactly. Yes. But I thought that I wanted to be a wedding planner, so I started out at UK, both UK grads.
Nice. I'm a UK grad.
I
You were
love
too,
it.
weren't you?
Oh,
You're
EKU.
But I started out as a hospitality major. I thought I wanted to be a wedding planner, and then I got into that, and I was like, mad respect to wedding planners. Like, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
And Twirl was hiring part-time, and I was like, I don't really know what I want to do anymore. So I just started there to see if I liked it.
Like the wedding scene.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See like what else is out there in weddings. And I added fashion merchandising onto my major as well.
Nice.
And then I just absolutely loved it, like so much. And Twirl especially to me was really important because I'd followed them on Instagram for years. And they are like size inclusive. And a lot of things in bridal are not at all. Like
very limited.
Very, very limited. And when you're watching like those TLC shows, things like that, it's always like when you think of a wedding, you're thinking of like someone who's very like small, like your normal, like everyday straight
Petite
size.
bride
Exactly, very
type.
petite bride. So I was like obsessed with Twirl always because I was like, they have people who aren't like every like size 00 in dresses and things like that. So that's how I first got into bridal, and ever since then, like I absolutely love it. Like it genuinely is weird.
Well, then you
that
met
we get to
her and
do
you were
it.
like, I can't leave.
Exactly. And now
Now
we never
we're
leave
stuck
each other
together.
ever.
Madeline, when did you start at Twirl?
2020.
So
right before the world
January 2020.
closed down.
Yes. Like right
We
before.
hired her, and
right
then we were
before the
like,
shutdown.
we actually are closing this.
Turns out.
And I have to take this moment to brag on Madeline because she got hired on as an 18-year-old who was just supposed to be like our assistant, and like we were like, she's too young to be working with brides, like and we just like
She's fresh.
Yeah. Child.
I
was
will
baby child.
proudly say we were ignorant of how amazing you were.
Aw,
because
sweet.
during shutdown, when she wasn't getting paid, when she was just supposed to be unemployed, this girl took our entire inventory and made flashcards of each of the individual qualities of the samples that we have, the sizes that they were in, the amounts that they were, and she learned our entire inventory. And when she came back, she was like, I'm ready to be a stylist.
I know more than you
and
do.
we were like, literally, we were like, I'm sorry, you did what while we weren't paying you?
Yes.
And
They're
so,
like, so can you pass those to us? 'Cause I don't know.
exactly. And so like, I think a lot of people would be like, oh my gosh, you're too young to be this. And like, that's admittedly how we were. And like, no, she's incredible.
a nerd.
She's just a little nerd.
You took the opportunity and you ran with it.
And like, she fully approached us and was like, I'm ready to be a stylist.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and she proved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you did the
iconic.
work.
Yes. So I have to brag on her every
I
time.
love that.
She'll
I love
never
that.
brag on herself for that, but that's also why we love
But
her.
that's a good boss. You know what I mean? A lot of bosses would have just taken it and been like, cool, thanks for doing it. Yeah, but like, you know, and you were like, not only did you do it, and it helped you all, but like, you know, you appreciate her for it.
Oh
And
my
that's
gosh,
huge.
yeah, that's just who she is as a person.
love
so
it.
I mean, we can't
God.
not obsess over her.
Well, I would be remiss if I did not ask this question.
Yeah.
So tell me, Do you have any fun stories about any bridezillas?
Bridezillas.
Maybe
us a little
an
bit of
awkward
juice.
moment,
Yeah.
or even if you wanted to just say, like, here's my advice for someone coming
Yeah.
in to get a dress. Here's what I would or would not do.
Yeah.
Here's who I would and would not bring. Things
Yeah.
like that.
Okay, so we've got multiple questions here. So I will tell you, I have a very different stance on bridezillas than I think most people do.
Okay.
I think
I think
most
because
of
we work with them. so
I
much.
think most of Twirl's, if not all of Twirl's
Yeah.
staff would have a very similar response. I think that Birdezilla and the entire idea of a Bridezilla is a very misogynistic concept.
Ooh.
Because
Okay.
I think if you take any person and you say, hey, I know that waking up every day and looking in the mirror is really hard. And I know that every day you wake up and you're like, gosh, I wish that my eyebrow was just a little bit lower. Or I wish that my stomach was just a little bit more toned. Or I wish that I had Kim Kardashian's butt. And every day I know you're gonna pick yourself apart, and that's hard enough. But now I'm also gonna tell you that you're about to pick the most important dress of your life, and there's only one dress for you. And everyone that you've ever loved will be there, and they're gonna be judging you, and everyone's gonna be all eyes on you, and so it has to be perfect. And then you say, I want you to pick it within the amount of time that it takes to be shipped, to be altered. I want you to pick it in the amount of time that it takes for your entire wedding, which could be 6 months, it could be a year from now. And then you say, I want you to do it for this amount of money.
Which is probably more than you've spent on anything.
On any one
Yes.
piece of item.
Or any
yeah.
clothing
Yeah.
item before.
And then you say, I want you to bring the people who are the most important to you. And I want you to stand on a pedestal. And I want you to choose your wedding dress. I think any human being on the planet would have come apart.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm
that's
having
just
a
the
come
dress
apart just
aspect.
thinking
Yeah,
about
I
it.
get anxious just listening to her describe the
I know, I'm
situation.
like,
what are we getting to?
So full disclosure, me and Hannah not married,
Not
never
married.
been married,
Not
never
married,
been
never
through
been
this.
married. And so I think when people describe, that's one of the most common questions we get. And it's a great question because that's what our society has said is a bride is these things. And I just, one of our most common things that we say is that's such a myth about bridal. And it's such a myth about bridal that you're gonna be a bridezilla, because guess what? You're a human being who is under an extreme amount of pressure and who deals with body image issues every day of your life. And now you're being told that you have to be X, Y, and Z on your wedding day, and you're gonna have to look perfect, and it's gonna just be something that's immaculate and wonderful. And it is, but it isn't something that you should be torn apart for if you have a breakdown.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the things that our entire staff has been you're not a bridezilla, you're just a human being under an immense amount of stress and a tight timeline.
A lot of stress, a lot of frustration.
And a budget.
Budget.
Yeah.
And I think what a lot of people forget, but before most people get engaged, they're just an accountant or a
Yep.
nurse.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you get engaged and people are like, okay, now you're gonna plan the best night of your life for the 200 plus or however big your wedding is, people you know, and you're gonna ask people's advice and they're gonna say, well, it's whatever you like, sweetie, but then they're gonna judge
They're
it.
gonna have an
Yeah.
opinion
Yes.
on it. Yeah.
And you're planning that big an event and that's not something you've ever done before.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stress involved with it.
There's so much stress and there's so much expectation with being a bride that you almost and
best day
you
of your
have to
life.
reframe yourself when you work with brides to be they are going in with these expectations. The number of times that we'll have girls who are I'm so sorry if I'm being a bridezilla, do you just have anything that's strapless? And I'm like,
That's so simple.
baby girl,
It's a simple request.
come here, let me hug you.
Good job.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Exactly. And so there are just those times where you just want to hug them and you just want to be it's okay, sweet angel, that you feel this way. And as crazy as you might be, I just think about it, I'm how many people do I meet that I'm you're crazy? Take out the bride part of it. Some people you're not going to vibe with, and some people you're going to be she's not my cup of tea. But each and every one of these brides that we see, regardless of if you vibe with them or if you don't, it's you are in a moment in your life where your entire life is changing. Like, you are committing yourself to someone else in a way that is so public and is so, people think that they can just say whatever they want to brides. Like, and be like, but like, it's your day, as if that qualifier changes that my mom just told me that she hates everything that's going on in my wedding, but like, it's my day. So I just think that like all of our staff tries to reframe and be like, babe, it's okay that you're stressed, and it's okay that you want to cry, and it's okay that like you are just feeling like you want to scream at someone, because we've all been there. And like, we always say, like, Twirl is a safe space for you to have whatever emotion you need to have at that moment. And so I know you probably didn't expect
No, this is so
question.
insightful. Like, I have never even thought about that.
No.
Like, again, I've never been married, never been through this. So like, but I've never thought about it like that. And I just think it is so incredibly insightful. So generally, one of the questions that we ask is kind of like, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? But for you all, I want to reframe that question. And I want to know, what is the advice that you would give to someone who's coming into your shop? Like, what guidance would you give someone who hasn't been through this and they're scared or nervous, or please let us know.
I think one of the things you're talking about, like who to bring, there is a way to say less stress. We normally recommend bringing as few people. Like, obviously you want the most important people there with you, but your biggest supporters, and the fewer the better most of the time. You want people who are going to hype you up, and people who know your vision, so that way they're not like, oh, well, like, I like clean satin ball gowns.
You don't want too many ideas being thrown.
Exactly. And you only want the people who are going to support you and love you and hype you up the most. If you have, 18 of your sorority sisters with you, no one of those 18 girls is going to get married in the same dress. So no one's opinions are going to be the same. And that's just going to cause a lot of overwhelm, leading to Birdezilla moment.
Yeah, and I think like we've had huge groups, we've had small groups, and like the common denominator of like what's going to be the most like supportive group is a group that can think about it in terms of like, okay, I like this, but she likes this, so she's wanting my input in terms of what she likes, not what I like. Because I think that I always tell my brides who are like, gosh, like my mom is saying that she likes this type of dress, but I really like this. I always say, like, if there was only one type of dress that everyone was gonna like, there would be one wedding dress in the entire world.
Everybody would wear it.
It's okay if people like different things. The part that comes in where I'm like, you need to be kinder to brides is when you can't put up that wall of like, okay, my style versus her style, my vision versus her vision. So regardless of how many people you bring, as long as your entire team is on team bride's vision, you're gonna be fine. But it's almost a hard conversation that you have to have with people beforehand, and I think that's where it gets kind of scary.
That's what I wanted to ask. Have you ever had to like tell somebody you maybe don't be here while they're looking at the dress? Like, have you ever had to be like, okay, like I love your grandma, but like she's not. Walk in the store alone for a minute.
I do have one story like that.
Okay.
But I do think that happens a lot, and like I always reframe like with our girls. I say like, you're their coach, because like you guys have never been married. You wouldn't know how to be a bride, and that's normal. A lot of people also wouldn't know how to be a bride's team member, and that's okay, and that's normal, So like you almost have to coach people through, and like a lot of people will come in saying, oh, well, she wants me here as like the honest person. So then you're like, okay, that's fabulous, and I want you there to be honest, but I also want you to understand honesty from her perspective. So we have to coach people through that a lot. The only time in history that I've ever had to be like, you can't be here was actually at our old store meant to be, and it was a one-room shop, whereas like Twirl is a house that has like separate rooms, so like the people are in one room and then we're getting her into a dress in a separate room and then we walk in. But meant to be was like, she's getting into the room, like there was just no separation. And the only time I've ever had to ask someone to leave was that my bride was finding her wedding dress and was like an everyday like size 8, 10, like a very normal size.
Yeah.
Like the average
Average
size
size.
of most women
Yeah.
in America. And her mom just was like smaller than me and was like, I'm like a size 0, and was just like, everything that you put on, you look fat in. And my bride's mom was like harping on that, and I was coaching her through, and my bride got back in and was ready to say yes, and my bride's mom was basically just like, I'm not paying for that, you look fat in it. And she started crying, so I grabbed her into like the fitting room, and I was like, hey, I will ask her to leave if that's what you want.
Gladly.
Like,
gladly.
You brought her here, she's your guest. Like, I'm not going to impose if that is something that like you don't want. But like, if you're scared to say it, I'm your advocate.
I will take pride in doing that.
So,
Be happy to help.
Meant to Be was over on Walton, which was the A&W used to be there.
Yeah,
And
the
so
A&W.
I just very kindly went up to the mom and I said, I think it would be really helpful for you if you went and took a lap and maybe got a root beer. And that could be really great for you right now.
She's really wanting some fries,
Yeah.
so I need you to go get her some fries.
That's a really
right now.
eloquent way to do
Yeah.
that, though.
I
I'm
was
impressed.
I was like, you can go get a root beer across the street, and when you're ready to speak lovingly to your daughter, please come back in.
I
But
love
until
that.
then, I'm going to lock the door.
So not only are you a stylist, but you're a therapist.
Yes.
This
I
is
would
really
say
impressive.
This is
do
impressive.
Yes.
More than
Yes.
I would say, like helping people
Yeah.
choose their dress. Like most of the time, like people know what they like, so they're gonna tell us what they like, and we help them find it.
We help
But-
them fine tune that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But more than finding people's dresses, we are therapists.
That person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. It's one of the things that like we'll be
comes
like,
with it.
Yeah.
how did we break down sobbing and my shirt is tear stained now? Like, what happened here? But you know what? It's fine.
worth
That's
it.
part of it.
So,
Yes.
but yeah, that's my only like instance where I've been like, no, you can't be here.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it would have been different if it wasn't a one-room shop. But I was like, we need a break
We
from that
need
energy.
a breather. Yeah.
And she never came back. So I
She
guess
got the
she
hint.
wasn't ready.
Story wrote.
I was like, you can be embarrassed and drink a root beer.
Yes. I love
And
how
that's
you
fine.
approach that though.
The
Yeah.
majority of the time when people are
Yeah.
saying like that's not as flattering or like things like that are mean comments, they're not coming at it unless it was that mom.
Yes.
From like I want to tear you down.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
think they're being supportive. So a lot of our job is like reframing like
How
that's
they're
not
saying
quite
it.
as flattering to be like, well, she really loves like this cut.
Yeah.
And she feels the most confident in this cut. Because they're not attempting to like tear her down. They
Yeah.
think they're being helpful.
They're trying to be that friend that you want there to
Yeah.
also be like, all right, maybe not the best shape,
Yeah.
you know, but like,
Well, and like if you think about the media that we consume, it's like 6 different dresses for a pear-shaped body. Whereas like I think nowadays most people would say like, oh yeah, I can wear whatever
Yeah.
I
I'm gonna
want
wear what I like.
if I feel good in it.
Yep.
So then you also have to think about it generationally of like,
Yes.
okay, so
100%.
So your mom was fed, if you're this body type, you have to wear an A-line. Well, now you have to reframe, okay, so it's totally okay if she wants to wear something that isn't necessarily flattering for
Yes.
her body type, because that's what she looks in the mirror and says,
I look
I'm
good.
amazing.
Yeah, I look
you know?
good.
Like
Yeah.
I look so good. And so that's the energy that we're like, okay, let's focus on how she feels, because like I could look at her and be like, I don't like that as much as the other one, but
If she feels like $1 million, that's what matters.
that's
Exactly.
all that
That
matters.
energy is gonna radiate,
Yes.
regardless. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
confidence is what's gonna make the dress
Yes,
absolutely.
feel
exactly.
like the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel like whenever a bride like feels like I am the moment in a dress, like
You
I
know that's
can't
it.
stop smiling.
Yeah.
You know, like
And
my
neither can
cheeks
they.
will hurt
Yeah.
by the end of the
Yeah.
appointment. I'm like,
play with
She
it.
got it.
good, you know? So that's what you want on your wedding day. You want to like
Yes.
wake up and be like, I can't wait to put on my wedding dress.
Yes.
You know?
They're
So-
excited for it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Are there any recent trends that you guys are loving?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Anything
Yes.
that's sticking out in your
You
mind?
bet.
I would say trends right now are very like clean, classic, minimalist, modern, or like leaning into like boho-y, whimsical kind of vibe.
Yes.
It's like there's 2 camps, but both are very trendy right now. personally, I love a poofy sleeve.
Ooh,
That's been
yep.
very in recently.
Yes.
I also love a pearl. I mean,
Pearls
pearls are very
are
timeless, but they're like
everywhere.
I
everywhere
love
right
pearls.
now.
Yes.
I'm a big pearl person.
They're
Everywhere
so
in bridal.
good.
Yes.
I think also like some people are so scared of trends, and
Yeah.
like I just love a trend
Yeah.
and like speak into where you're at in your life right now.
I was gonna say, I feel like it kind of, I don't know, like when you look back on it, you're like, well, that's what was in. You know,
Exactly.
like there's definitely
Right.
pictures I look back of me younger and I'm like, oof.
That was a choice.
right.
That style
Yeah,
choice
but I was
probably.
so happy
but
making that
yes,
choice
it was
then.
in then
Yes.
though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
and I think
was
that's another like myth about bridal that we always talk about, of like people being like, well, you want it to be timeless.
Timeless.
You have no control over that.
No. Right.
You have zero control. 30 years from now, we could decide that brides actually wear jeans and a t-shirt
Right.
and a headband. You
And
know,
what
like,
if I hate a timeless dress?
well,
What if
they all come
if I
from
want
a
a boho?
circle. Like all of the
Exactly.
trends that are coming back now, I've lived them.
Yes.
If I would have just kept my closet from
Exactly.
the 90s, I wouldn't have to buy
Exactly.
anything.
Well, it's so
Like-
funny. We were just going through someone's home, and we found these pictures from a wedding back in the 80s, and the bride was wearing pants, and that's also something that's
yes.
coming
Yes,
back.
it
is
is.
that
Pantsuit.
it's the full
It's yes.
pantsuit.
So by the time I
Yes.
look at
Yes.
those photos, it's probably in style again.
yeah,
Like-
Hold on
You've
to
got no
everything.
control.
You heard it here first.
Exactly. Become a
swear,
hoarder.
That's what I swear that there's some warehouse that they're just reselling
Yes,
from right now
I'm
because
sure.
it's 90s
Yes.
all over again.
Yes, exactly. So you have no control over it.
Yes.
So like
No.
wear what you feel great in and wear what
100%.
brings you joy. You know, like we are always all about, like our whole mantra is like she twirled through life with a heart full of joy. Like
I love
we
it.
want you
So cute.
to just feel joyful and excited. And like if a poofy sleeved dress that is tie-dye makes you feel the best version of yourself, by golly, wear that on your wedding
Yes,
day.
100%.
You deserve that.
Yes.
You know? So we're always
forever
big.
be an
We
icon.
we love a trend.
Yes.
We're here
I love
for
it. I love it. A friend of mine had a poofy sleeve dress in her wedding back in April, and they were removable sleeves.
I
and
love that.
removable
And I'm almost positive she got it from Twirl.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
Actually.
we'll confirm later.
I love a detachable sleeve.
Yes, we love a detachable sleeve. Change up your look for, you know, you don't have to pay for two different dresses.
dresses.
You just pop
Yeah.
it off and everyone's like, oh my god.
I love it. Or like the trains, how you can remove them. Super cute. I
Yes,
love it. Because I'm a
exactly.
big fan of a train, but I also want like a nice reception,
Yes.
dancing,
I'm
all
also
of
a
that.
big
I
fan
can't-
of being functional.
Yeah,
Love a
yeah.
functional
Gotta
dress.
have a
Love it.
functional
And
Yes.
dress.
functional.
So fun.
Love it.
Yeah.
So you may not be able to speak on this as much as you will be able to, since you got into it right when COVID started. But would you say is there a specific difference that you've noticed between like bridal stuff before and after COVID?
Ooh, that's a great
very good
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you've seen?
I think trendiness is becoming more of like an approachable
Yes.
bridal. Like I think before COVID, I saw a ton more like I want to try on the trendy dress, but I don't necessarily want to get married in it. And now my girls are like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
want it because that is what's in right now.
Yeah.
And that's a reflection of where we're at now. I also have seen a ton of girls wanting to do multiple looks, like we were talking about. Like we just picked up another line of little white dresses because
Cute.
after COVID, we've just had so many girls who are like, I want an exit dress or I want a reception dress.
Yeah.
I think in terms of like the types of weddings that we're seeing weddings that are smaller, even though you're able to have more people, because they're like, I just realized that it was less about like the wedding and more about like the celebration of our marriage. And so I wanted it to be smaller. We're still seeing a ton of destination weddings, which is
Really?
fun. Yeah, we
Yeah.
used to have them
Fun.
like peppered in, but now it's like
Yeah.
I feel more.
I think what it is like post-COVID, obviously life has gotten more expensive in literally every industry,
Every aspect.
everything.
Yeah.
And so when people are spending money on a wedding, they want to spend
You
it
want
on
it worth
things
it.
that like are important to
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
So like we see smaller weddings because people only want like their closest people there. We see more personality in weddings.
Yes.
Because when you're getting married and spending that money, it needs to be important to you.
And you want it to be a reflection of yourself,
Yes.
not
Yes.
just like what you
Right.
think a wedding should look
Yes.
like. I feel like I've seen a lot more. Look at me acting like I know anything about weddings.
She does.
Like, and maybe this is just a personal opinion. If I was going to spend money on it, I feel like I would want a more intimate ceremony and then like a big reception.
big party. You
Yeah,
see that
like
all the
then you
time.
want all of the
Yeah.
friends
Yeah.
and stuff. But like, I feel like my moment, I would only want like
inner circle.
Yeah, inner
Yeah.
circle. I
Yeah.
could not imagine trying to invite like 500
And
people.
COVID changed a lot of that. I
It
mean,
did.
I had one friend, and I remember like our whole friend group was so upset because she really, really wanted to get married, but it was during COVID, and her grandparents, she wanted her grandparents there, so none of her friends were there.
Yeah.
And that was a decision that she made, and now I completely respect
Completely
that. At the
understand.
moment, I was
Yeah.
like, but I didn't get to come.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not about me.
Yeah, like a lot of people had like little bridal parties and stuff like that. That was their way to include. And you know, with things being expensive, not everybody can
You
throw
know,
a big
that's a
shindig.
great point. We've also had a ton of girls getting creative with their bridal parties.
Yes.
And instead
See?
of doing bridal parties, they're doing like, I want everybody to come dressed in like one palette and like get ready with me,
Cute.
but like
Yes.
wear whatever you want and you don't have to stand up there with me. We've had a ton of girls doing like, as there's something blue, like they have their girls in blue.
Oh, cute.
that.
I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had so many girls who are like, and I'm not doing like any bridesmaids, and they say it kind of like sheepishly as if it's
Yeah.
like something to be frowned upon. And I'm like, that is amazing.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make it what you want it to be.
We've also seen like less like gendered bridal parties and just having like my
Yes.
bride's people.
Yes, everything.
I love that.
This
you
is
know?
a little off topic, but I've seen that in baby showers too.
Yeah.
It's not just women anymore. You get to
Yes.
invite everybody, which
Well,
I
other people
like.
you like.
I
I'm
like
here
it.
for
Like,
it.
Well, it never made sense to me like if you had like a guy
No.
best friend, like why
Why
is he
can't he
sitting over
come?
with my husband?
Yeah.
like that?
Exactly.
Not where I am.
He doesn't get to claim
exactly.
me. I brought
They
him
want
into
to be
the
over here.
relationship.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we've been seeing more and more, like you said, of just like influencing your wedding with your own personality rather than by what you think a wedding has to be. Yeah.
Cute. I love it.
Oh,
I mean,
we're
if
here for
anything
it.
good came out of COVID, that's a
Yeah.
win.
Yeah,
You know?
truly.
It's a win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was a great question. I love that.
Nice. So, if you all had like one piece of advice that you would give to a bride, whether it be, you know, who or who not to bring, anything like that, what would be your one piece of advice you would give?
And one each. You can't
Yeah,
can't
one
combine.
each.
Can't
so
take back.
No,
Do
yes, you go first.
Okay, I'll go first. I think that my advice would be give yourself grace because you are in a moment in your life where everything is changing. And in terms of like planning your wedding day, everything is going to be here's a schedule, here's a schedule, here's a schedule, here's a deposit, here's a deposit, here's a deposit. Take time to give yourself a moment to just be like, I will only be a fiance for X number of days. You've been a girlfriend for however long. You will be a wife for however long. But like fiance is a very finite time. So give yourself grace to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, and that's okay. And give yourself the time to really relish in this
Enjoy
season.
it. I feel
You
like
know?
everything just probably feels so rushed in those times, you know, because you're trying to plan all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But like as soon as somebody gets engaged, they're like wedding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like they just like rush through it.
Yeah.
I probably would be the same exact way.
Right.
I'm very like anal.
it.
Like as soon as I have
Yes.
a task
Yeah.
to do, I'm like, get it done
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
But
feel
I
that.
think like give yourself that moment to almost like breathe and be like, it's okay that I don't know what my next step is going to be. Because in those moments of like, I have no idea what's gonna happen, like you will have those happy little surprises and you'll have those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I allowed myself the peace of mind to be there and be like present in my engaged season. So I think that would probably
Now
be
I'm
my
just
biggest.
gonna be engaged forever.
I know,
fun.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
get
should we
married.
all just get rings?
Right?
I think my advice would be that comparison really is the thief of joy. Like,
Oh, I love
there
that.
is there's so much content. We literally live in a world where like there's so much
People get
that you
paid
can
to just
look
put
at.
content out. Yeah.
Content out. And you might see like Paris Hilton's multi-million dollar wedding. And like, it's great to draw inspo from things like Pinterest and TikTok and Instagram, like all over social media. But if you are constantly like consuming that content, and of course, like your phone knows when you get engaged. I just recently got engaged and my entire
Congrats!
Yes, Mads is speaking from like,
Yes.
As a
I
bride,
am speaking
too.
like from experience, like everything on my TikTok is about somebody's wedding. And like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Or like, but then once you see all that and you're like, well, I can't afford to do that. Like it really like makes you not excited for
Yes.
your wedding. So I think prioritize what's important to you. Make sure you're having fun while you do it.
Yeah.
And you can draw inspiration, but don't put yourself
Don't
down.
kill it with comparing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like both of that comparison and like giving yourself grace is not just for brides, but just for
Life.
people.
Yeah.
Just
Life.
for life.
Yeah.
I feel like that's excellent advice.
And it's always easier said than done.
Yes.
Exactly.
That is
You almost
very
have
true.
to like check yourself and be like, okay, especially in those moments where you're like, I can't afford a Paris Hilton wedding, but like I want a Paris Hilton wedding. You almost have to like check yourself and be like, okay, realistically, I can never afford what Paris Hilton will get, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's normal.
You know, like that's
100%
more normal.
Yeah.
Paris.
Exactly.
But you almost have to check yourself and then be like, okay, now what can I afford?
What do I like from that
Yeah.
that I'm like trying to imitate?
And prioritize what's important to you.
Yeah, exactly. She's a genius.
So before we wrap everything up, I just want to make sure that everyone knows. So do you know what your TikTok name is and things like that? Follow them on social.
Yeah, I think it's Twirl Lex.
It is
On
at
everything.
Twirl Lex.
Yes.
At Twirl and we'll tag it and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
You
tag
will
everything.
see a lot of us on there. So if you
I love
like
it. Can't
this,
wait.
Yes.
Great. If you didn't,
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
y'all
you
for
ladies
having
so
us.
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Yeah, of
this
course.
has been so wonderful.
Yes.